Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certifact Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. We'll be giving you all the first appearance in your comic shops today. Now this week we have a pretty big video for you guys. I think we have 14 titles in all to go through, 9 first appearances, 5 honorable mentions, so definitely some books in there worth picking up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week, week ending September 15th, 2023. First up from DC Comics, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham #1. This features the first appearance of Krypton. Now, we mentioned this with all the DC comics. It really depends on what DC does with these characters as to how important these characters and these books are going to be in the future. If they introduce these characters across other storylines or the story arcs, or bring these characters into a small screen, big screen project, allow more eyes get on these characters, they become more popular, then people will race back to these comics and try to find the first appearances. You know, Batman is one of the strongest franchises that DC has. The Batman titles, whether it's an A series or B series, these are definitely books that are more sought after and more heavily collected than some of the other DC titles. That being said, though, this is definitely going to be a little more speculative if you choose to pick it up, because you're definitely specking on DC doing something with this character, making this character more popular and more important in the future. So this will be a spec bet if you choose to pick it up, but it may be worth doing so for the cover price. Grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, though, put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from DC Comics, Batman and Robin #1. This features the first cameo appearance of Shush. Now, like I just mentioned a moment ago, the Batman franchise is one of DC's more heavily collected, more popular franchises. So whenever they introduce a new character into one of these Batman title series, you know, these are definitely worth looking into. This here features the first cameo appearance of Shush. This is not the first full appearance. So this one here may not be as important as the first full appearance will be, but still it is the first cameo appearance. This will definitely be a little bit more speculative if you choose to pick it up, because you are, once again, betting on DC doing something more important with this character Shush that they're introducing, and making this character more popular and more sought after in the future. This here is the first cameo appearance. So this one here is definitely going to be speculative. Pick it up for a spec if you can. If you can't, then put it in your B-list. We do think you have a little time on this one. Next up from DC Comics, World's Finest Teen Titans #3. This features the first appearance of Toy Boy, an obsessive fan of Wonder Girl. Now this one here is definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up. This is definitely not one of DC's more popular or more heavily collected title series, and this features the first appearance of this Toy Boy, this obsessive fan of Wonder Girl. You know, Wonder Girl is not necessarily one of DC's more popular characters, more heavily collected characters, so the fact that this introduces an obsessive fan of Wonder Girl, this one here may not be all that important going forward. It really depends what DC does with this character. So this one here is definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up. Maybe worth doing so, but once again, we do think you have a little time on this one. Next up from Marvel Comics, Alligator Loki #1. This features the first appearance of Alligator Loki. Now this is a one-shot collection of the Alligator Loki Infinity Comics digitally released series. Now, this one here is definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up. We just put this one here on the list because it is the first appearance, but this is the first appearance of Alligator Loki. You know, Alligator Loki did appear in the Disney streaming series. Now, this character is not necessarily all that popular or heavily collected. This is more of a meme character of Loki, so this one here is definitely going to be speculative. So if Disney Marvel decide to do something with this character, you do want to have the first comic book appearance, and this is it. So once again, maybe worth picking up for $2 or $3. Definitely going to be a spec bet. Grab it if you can for a spec. Otherwise, put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Captain Marvel Dark Tempest #3. This features the first team appearance of the Feral Five. This is Kezia, Blake, Zen, Zane, and Zaka. These are siblings previously introduced in issue #1, but given powers by Nada in this particular issue. Now this is the first team appearance of Feral Five, not necessarily the first appearance of each individual character, and the siblings were introduced in issue #1, but this issue is where they do get their powers. This one here is definitely going to be a little bit more speculative if you choose to pick it up. This is a first team appearance of the Feral Five, so if Disney, Marvel decide to do anything with this particular team, then this is definitely a book you want to have, but right now, we can put it on the spec list. Grab it for a spec if you can. If you can't, then put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Spine-Tingling Spider-Man #1. This features the first appearance of Sleep Stealer. Now, like we always recommend with a Spider-Man title series, it's always worth picking up the first appearance of new characters in any Spider-Man title, no matter what it is, because, you know, Spider-Man is probably one of the most heavily collected and the most popular franchises that Marvel has. Anytime they introduce a new character, you know, for $3 or $4, the issue price of these comics, these are definitely worth buying and holding on to. If it goes somewhere, you're in it for just $3 or $4 and you're going to hit it big. If it goes nowhere, you're out $3 or $4. It's definitely worth the risk in our opinion. Spider-Man, once again, one of the most heavily collected and most popular franchises in the Marvel Universe. So this one here, the first appearance of Sleep Stealer, is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up from Marvel Comics, Werewolf by Night #1. This features the first appearance of Dr. Necromancer. Now, we always recommend picking up the first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles, and the Werewolf by Night title series, hugely popular, hugely collectible, and this is the premiere issue of this new rendition of Werewolf by Night. This one here has a lot going for it. This is a popular title already, and this is the first appearance of a new character in this particular title series. This is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up from Marvel Comics, X-Force #44. This features the first team appearance of the Wolverine Sentinels. Now, the X-Force title series, not necessarily one of Marvel's more heavily collected or more popular title series, but the Wolverine character, incredibly popular with fans. And this features the first team appearance of these Wolverine Sentinels, so this one here may be worth picking up. This is definitely going to be a little more speculative than a few of the other titles we just mentioned, but like I said, Wolverine, huge fan base, huge collector base, and these Wolverine Sentinels, if Marvel Disney decide to do something on the small screen and big screen with this Wolverine Sentinels team, then this is definitely the book you want to have. This here is the first team appearance. Definitely going to be speculative. Grab it if you can for a spec. Otherwise, put in your B-list, but keep an eye on this one. And finally, from Marvel Comics, Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi #1. This features the first appearance of Reva, the third sister of Inquisitorius. Now, we always recommend picking up the first appearance of new characters in these Marvel published Star Wars titles. There's been a lot of characters introduced in these Star Wars titles over the past few years, and a lot of them have hit the small screen or big screen. These books do trade for a premium in the secondary market once they hit the screen, and there's a lot more eyes on these characters. People always race back to the comics to try to find the first appearances. And this here is the first appearance of Reva. We really don't know how important this character is going to be in the future, but like we always say, the risk is worth the reward here. You're spending $3 or $4 to get a first appearance of a new character in a Star Wars title. If this character hits a small screen or big screen, this is going to be a big deal. So this one here, we definitely think you should pick up and add to your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. And now for the honorable mentions. From Image Comics, CREEPSHOW #1. This issue features a preview of Transformers #1. Now, if you guys haven't been paying attention, this new Transformers series has been a huge deal. Been a lot of attention on this. Been a lot of people racing in to get this Transformers #1, this premiere issue of this new rebooted title series. And this issue here features a preview of Transformers #1. Preview issues in the past have always commanded a premium in the secondary market. Maybe not as important as the first appearances or as the premiere issues of these title series. But comic issues in the past that have featured a preview of a really popular title series, these definitely have value in the secondary market. So this one here is one we do think you should pick up and add to your collection. Maybe a little bit more speculative because you are specking on the Transformers, this new title series being popular and being heavily collected with fans. And if it is, this preview issue is one you do want to own. So grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, then put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. Next up from Whatnot Massive, HARRIET Tubman Demon Slayer #1. When slave owners can't stop the formidable ninja warrior HARRIET Tubman, they call on the help of vampires, werewolves, witches, and demons to stop her. Now, we put this on the list just because this sounds absurd, and a lot of these stories like this, they do find their way to a small screen, big screen project, and if this particular title gets picked up for a streaming series or feature film, this is going to be a huge deal. People are going to race back to get this comic, and this is one that's going to be definitely undersold when it hits the shelves, because who's really going to buy this book on the shelf? Definitely somewhat of a ludicrous idea. HARRIET Tubman being a ninja warrior, and she has to fight off vampires, werewolves, and witches. So this is one that's definitely also going to be under-distributed. A lot of retailers aren't going to carry this book either. So this one here, we do think is going to be somewhat of a low distribution, probably a low print run, and like I said, a lot of people aren't going to buy this book on the shelf. So those are definitely some good factors going for it for long-term profitability. So this one here is one we do think you should pick up for a spec if you can. If you can't, though, put in your B-list and keep an eye on it. Next up from Dynamite, NEGADUCK #1. This is the premiere issue of a solo villain series spun off from Darkwing Duck. Now, we put this one here on the list because Darkwing Duck, hugely popular series, huge fan base, huge collector base, and this here is a solo villain spin-off of that particular series, and this here features NEGADUCK. Now, this one here may be worth picking up the spec on. For $3 or $4, you get the premiere issue of this particular spin-off series, and like I said, Darkwing Duck, huge fan base, huge collector base, so if this particular series here takes off, you do want to have the premiere issue. So grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, though, put in your B-list and keep an eye on it. Next up from Marvel Comics, Ghost Rider #18. This issue features the origin of Talia Warroad. Now, we put this one on the list because this is an origin story, but this is the origin of Talia Warroad. It really depends on how popular that character is in the future. The Ghost Rider title series does have a huge fan base and huge collector base. Ghost Rider is a huge fan favorite character. Talia Warroad, of course not as popular as Ghost Rider, but if Marvel Disney decided to do something with this character in a small screen, big screen project, if they bring this character into a streaming series or feature film, or feature her in continuity with this particular title series, this character may be more important in the future. This is her origin story, so this one here may be worth picking up for a spec if you can. They'll put in your B-list and keep an eye on it. And finally from DC Comics, Batman #1 Facsimile. This is a facsimile reprint of Batman #1 from 1940. I don't have to go into the importance of this particular issue. Batman #1, one of the highest priced comics of all time, and this here is a facsimile reprint. So this reprints not only the art and the stories, but all the original ads. This is like you went back to 1940, pick this book off the shelf yourself, and this here is, of course, brand new condition. This one here is definitely one you should pick up and add to your collection. There's a huge market for these facsimile reprints, and they do sell out, and people do race back into the secondary market and try to pick these books up when they miss them, and these do trade at a premium. So in our opinion, this is one we definitely think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. So there you have the 15 titles that we have for you guys this week. Told you it's a pretty big video, but there's definitely a lot of books in there worth picking up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.